You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Comunio here, and we are back with episode 50 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. And I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today?
I know it sounded good coming out your mouth saying episode 50. It's like, dang, that's like a legit milestone we just reached, bro. It's been a long time coming. Lots of editing, lots of time making outlines, lots of time making graphics, videos. A lot of stuff is going on in this past 50 episodes. But as far as how I'm doing, I'm really very happy. I would say I'm like very content with life. I feel like a big burden has been lifted off my shoulders being back here in Houston, leaving Purdue. So,
you got out of jail?
Right. I'm gonna talk about that all throughout the episode. I promise. we gonna talk. I'm gonna hit on it a whole lot more, but I just wanted to say that
that boy just did a bid.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm back in Houston, and I wanted to mention this is your first time hearing this, so. I've put an offer out on a house to live out here. So it actually is in Pearland too. And the offer got accepted. So,
oh, for real?
Yep.
So, hold on, which one?
So the one I showed you is at the corner of Macau and Orange.
About
the Pearland house. It's a duplex. Yep. Today is day one of the option period.
Damn, that's a lot. Congrats. We got to drop a bomb for that. Hopefully I don't forget that in. But yeah, shout out to you for that. That's dope. Well, yeah, for me, shoot. Life is good, man. Life is good. I can't complain at all. You know, I'm hustling, doing my stuff, and been having a lot of success, a lot of wins lately, and it's very fulfilling. A lot of, being able to see the fruits of your labor, coming into fruition and, ripening. It's a good feeling. And right now I'm just trying to capitalize on the momentum because I really feel like I know exactly what I need to be doing right now. And we'll kind of talk about this in the episode a little more so about what I'm talking about. But yeah, other than that.
How the two houses going out there?
The one house is done, just got listed yesterday. And it's been a bunch of showings. So hopefully by the time y'all hear this, we'll have accepted an offer on that one. I'm going to share that on the page probably some point after it's finished. And talk about that, talk about the numbers and all of that after we get that close. I don't want to, it'll probably be like a month from now, but I don't want to talk about it until then, or share it. But yeah, that one is good. And then the other one down the street, we have this literally the exact same floor plan, just getting started. We have gotten a lot of new listeners on this podcast as of recent. Shout out to Aisha, and her episode really blew up. I think so far that's already our most viewed episode of all time. Which is crazy because it's only been out just about like a little over a month. And we've been doing this for a year. And you know what? That one was really good. The other one with Xavier, shout out to X, that was a really good episode. And both of those, we're just trying to capitalize on that momentum. And so yeah, if you found us from them, hopefully you enjoy the content. Hopefully we can keep providing value, and hopefully you could stay locked in with us. But yeah, so yeah, it's been really good. But all that being said, that is the reason we are kind of doing this episode. A couple of reasons, but if you couldn't tell from the title, this is a reintroduction of us, and also we are kind of going to be explaining our strategy of building wealth and kind of what that looks like for us and the mindset and the things that we're doing in order to build wealth, and why we're doing the things we're doing them the way, or why we're doing things the way we're doing them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, episode 50, we kind of wanted to, I think it's a good opportunity. Like I said, we got a lot of new listeners listening. So it's a good opportunity to reintroduce ourselves. Cause I know definitely, listening back on episode 1 and just seeing episode 1, I'm like, dang, that's not how I would say that now. Or it's not like to say that's not who I am now. Cause the fundamentals and the principles are still there. It's still applicable. The mindset, it's essentially the same. Of course, some things adjusted. But, overall, the strategy and the plan for building wealth has I'm not going to say changed significantly, but it has, adjusted, and it has changed. And it's different than how it was a year ago, which is good, because you definitely want to be evolving, and you definitely want to be continuing to, implement new strategies and add new things to your toolbox. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today, and just get into that whole, soliloquy of who we are and what we're trying to do to build wealth. So
I think I want to just point out that, yes, even though this plan has changed, like ever since the beginning, the most important thing that we did was just take the first step. And what you don't realize when you are first starting something is that what you may have planned in your mind, like as far as the journey you think you're going to take, is 100% not going to be what it's going to end up being when you actually are on that journey. Like if you're taking a journey into the unknown, something that you haven't done before, I promise you, it's 99 times out of 100, maybe 100 times out of 100, it's not going to go as planned. But that doesn't mean that the goal changes. That just means that the path that you initially thought you were going to take may change, but the goal stays the same. So I just want to highlight that. We'll talk more about that also during the episode, but I did want to point that out.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. And even like building off of that too, I think there is definitely something to be said for starting something and just, doing it and getting it, like, staying consistent with it. Because the thing about this podcast is, we started it in, the idea came to fruition in April of 2019. Mm-hmm. Took about a month of planning and, execution, getting all the steps in place about, branding and all of that. And then the first episode released in May of 2019. And I know by July of last year, we was getting like 300 downloads a month. And, at that point, it's like, okay, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if that's good. You don't know if that's, bad or whatever. But now, just staying consistent and just doing things that you don't feel like doing, that has led to us, getting, this July is August 1st as we record this, but as July ended, I just checked, I think this morning, July, we had over 4,400 plays or downloads that month. That's 4,400. So, going from 300 to 4,400 within a year, it's something to be said for, that being consistent. And like I said, doing things you don't want to do. Because I promise you, there's been days where I was like, nah, man, I ain't getting an episode this week because I do not feel like editing this. Like, it is what it is. But at the same time, I just stuck with it, and you just do it. You do it when you don't feel like doing it. You do it because you committed to it. You do it because there is there's something to be said, and there's something that's going to come from it. So, I say that to say you can apply that same formula and that same equation to any aspect of your life, whatever it is. I'm a big fan of self-discipline being more reliable than passion and motivation is. Because the thing about it, and I had talked about this a few weeks ago, but the thing about it is that, and I'm going to say this, we're going to get into the episode. Just hold your horses. We're going to get into the episode. But the thing about it is that passion and, that feeling of motivation, that's what gets you started. That's what you use to like kind of, get the thrust, get the wheels turning. But how long does that last? Money Monopolizers, this whole brand, it was very exciting in the beginning. It's like, ooh, we finna start the podcast. We're finna do all this. We're gonna, blow up and whatever the case may be. But that wears away, and you can see how. I know, I'm not gonna mention who, but people that have started podcasts and literally, y'all can't hear Marlon, but he's laughing.
Oh no, you can hear me. I was trying not to go crazy laughing.
You could literally like 3 episodes, 4 episodes in. Okay, that's it. And it's like, really, bro? But that's just the common thing. And I say that to say, the original point is that whenever you don't rely on that passion and that motivation, you're going to get it done regardless. Because self-discipline is going to take you a lot further. Because self-discipline essentially removes all the emotion out of the equation. And it makes you do it regardless, because it's something that you said you would do. It's something that you were committed to.
And that goes to anybody who's set New Year's resolutions. I thought of them as like a prime example. And initially, like on December 31st, all you thinking about, man, it's going to be a new year. It's going to be a new me. I'm finna get into the gym. I'm finna go start a business. I'm finna do this, that, and the other. that's all the passion talking at that point, because you haven't started anything yet. You haven't gone through some obstacles. You haven't faced any adversity. All you have is the vision and the goal in mind. But once March hits and you 2 months in, shoot, as soon as February hits, January over now. So now you into the nitty gritty of the year. You may have came up into a roadblock or something. How you feel at that point?
Or just don't feel like it.
Right. I'll use this as an example. By month, like by July in 2019, I think we probably had around 200 followers in total or something. And we felt like we were definitely putting out quality content, for one. And two, we feel like we were being consistent enough to at least have a larger following. But so now you had two choices: either quit because it's not working your way, or keep on going. And so by sticking through it and just continuously pressing on, I think by the time January came around, we had around 3,000 followers. Because at some point, you're going to hit that exponential growth. But it always comes from starting and then staying consistent with it, though.
Yeah, because you're going to figure it out along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking imperfect action. That's all it is.
Yep.
As long as you take action, it don't matter if you. It's like a dude that's afraid to shoot his shot, and he's waiting for that perfect opportunity rather than just going like, whatever, bro, just go talk to her, bro. Like, what you waiting on? It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know why I thought of that, but it's the same thing. Like, you just take action. Whatever happens, happens. If you take an L, big deal, bro. Congrats. That means you're closer to it. Yes. So
the more
anyway,
shots you take, the more chance you got of it going in.
Yeah. Hey man, Mamba mentality. I missed the 10th, but shit, I might make the 11th.
That's it.
So, but yeah, anyways, that's I just wanted to point that out. I think there's definitely something to be said, and I wanted to illustrate that point before we get into it. Hopefully that hasn't been too long.
It's been about 30 minutes now.
No, it hasn't.
I don't know. It's about 15. They don't show me the time.
Okay. Yeah, so let's get into this episode more so now. I think like I said, we're going to just talk about who we are, upbringing for the people that, don't know us, the people that are new. And then we'll get into kind of what we're doing too, as far as building wealth and how we're doing that and how our strategy have changed. So if you do not know now, my name is Alex Camuño, and I am 24 years old. By day, I'm an engineer. By night, I'm an entrepreneur and a financial educator. I wouldn't say by night, but when I'm not doing that, other non-engineering nonsense, I'm a entrepreneur and financial educator. And currently right now, I have 3 rental properties, 2 flips going on, and I have a, semi-truck business, trucking business, and I have a rental car business as well. And of course, I have other businesses, but I'm not going to talk about all of those right now. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at today. And, my goal is to continue to build these up and achieve financial freedom. I was born in Kenya in 1996. And I lived there for like a year. So I was born there, but I wasn't really raised there. But yeah, I was born there in 1996, moved to the United States in 97 when I was 1 year old, and settled in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. Lived there until 2005 after Hurricane Katrina hit, and then moved to Texas, to Houston, because of that. And I would say that was probably one of the best things that ever happened. It allowed me to just, meet a lot of better people, get in a better environment and those kind of things, specifically in Pearland. Shout out to Pearland. And that's when I met Marlon at that point. Yeah. So, I'll kind of let Marlon, tell his story up to that point, and then we can, I'll continue from there.
Right. All right. Yeah. So for me, I think both me and Alex's stories are very synonymous when it comes to like, I guess some type of life event moving us to the same location to where we meet each other. So for me, I'm Marlon Walls. For anybody who doesn't know, 24 years old as well. I know how Alex introduces himself, talking about engineer by day, investor, entrepreneur, educator by night. Very synonymous too. I would say that I'm currently an engineer by day as well, working at MRI Technologies. So that's a subcontractor for NASA down in Houston. Just got that job 2 weeks ago. Very glad to be here. So I feel like I just finished serving my 2-year prison sentence. Oh, my bad. A 2-year master's degree program at Purdue University. So I just finished that up. And now I'm back in Houston full time, just doing, like I said, engineering by day, and then at night I'm pursuing real estate as an investment. And as far as my investments are concerned, I would say that I lacked in the business aspect because I was serving my prison sentence for the past 2 years, but I was able to at least hang on to everything that we did as far as the podcast and for real estate. So my total portfolio consists of 2 rental properties, one in Houston, one in Lafayette currently. I'm actually had that on the market currently, so I can obtain another rental here in Houston. I just take the capital gains off of that one. I think in total we've done 5 flips in total. I think 4 in San Antonio, 1 in Houston. So I think 5 flips in total. 2, well, 1 is on the market currently. 1 is currently being have a renovation performed on it, but I think that's what my portfolio consists of currently. And moving forward, I promise you, it's about to be a 180-degree difference for me as far as the business mindset, the business aspect of my life, because now I have the time to do so. Yeah. And then I also have the finances to afford it, or to at least get the startup costs paid for. But I guess before that, though, I was born in Detroit, Michigan. So grew up, I think the first 10 years of my life was born and raised in Detroit, inner city. I would say that I definitely want to say sheltered. That's not the word for it, but I want to say that I wasn't really in the midst of like all of the ins and outs of like what an inner city life would be like, because my parents had me in a private school where I want to keep me away from any type of negative influences, to just lack of a better term. But then going from there, in 5th grade, my dad had an opportunity to go to relocate in his job. And he had different places around the country that he could have chose, but him and my mom ended up choosing Texas as the place that they wanted to reside in, because they thought that would be a better opportunity for myself, and then for his other daughter at the time. But now he has 2 daughters. So for both my sisters, he thought that would be a better environment to grow up in, and said we should take a chance and do something different. And so 5th grade, we moved to Texas. I was a skinny kid, probably about 5 foot, maybe 90 pounds. I don't know, very, very skinny little dude, and never wanted to touch a football in my life. And first thing I saw was a kid skinnier than me and smaller, probably about 4'8", 50 pounds on a football field. And this is in 7th grade by this time. I'm like, you said what?
Okay, what?
Right. I'm like, my dude, if this kid can play football, I know I can at least stand a chance out here. So
it's about me, by the way.
Yeah, so this is Alex. That's what Alex looked like in 7th grade. He's definitely grown since then, but in 7th grade, looked like he should have been in 5th, just to be honest. But
they thought I was underfed at home.
Yeah, bro, it was. I don't know. He was a late bloomer in growth, but it definitely filled out in the end. But yeah, so seeing him at that age, that was one of my motivators, and there was also others, but that was one way that I first saw him. And then we also were both very motivated in school, though. So like we would both we had good heads on our shoulders as far as like getting good grades. I guess being obedient, stuff like that back in school, and just doing things that we were supposed to as far as like pursuing education. And so that's kind of where we meshed together pretty well. And then also our love for 2K, stuff like that. But it was a pretty good relationship starting out from there. And then I guess I'll pass it back to you so you can move on from there.
Yeah, so I mean, 7th grade, was playing football. I played all the way to 12th grade senior year at Pearland. And then I moved to San Antonio in 2014. And I started studying civil engineering, and graduated from there.
Graduate from where?
UTSA.
Okay, you didn't say that. You just said San Antonio. I thought you said graduate from San Antonio.
My fault. University of Texas at San Antonio. Graduated from there after 3.5 years, December 2017, and then entered the workforce as a 21-year-old engineer. This was me and Marlon also literally did the same exact thing at that point as well. Going back on real quick on what you said, because I think this is a good segue into kind of our mindset now. Growing up, we were very competitive and very like determined just to like be the best. Like, I don't know about you, but I was always trying to be better than you at everything. Like, and even now I hate losing. It's not to say I compete with you now, but like growing up, oh man, I hated losing, and I still hate losing. And I think that kind of like fuels me into like, just everything I do, I try to be the best at it. That's just kind of my mindset with it. And at that point, that's just kind of how life played out, right? I wanted to be the best at school. I wanted to be the best athlete. I wanted to be the best engineer. I wanted to be the best whatever. I just wanted to be the best because I know if you're the best, good things come out of that, particularly financial rewards. And I was very financially motivated all throughout all of my childhood. Marlon knows that about me. I mean, you could say for a 12-year-old, whatever, I really enjoyed money. I mean, obviously I still do. So
Alex Krabs.
Eugene Krabs. Yeah.
Eugene Krabs. No, yeah, so that's a reference from Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob. I used to call Alex that all the time growing up.
Thank you for choosing the Krusty Krab. Here's your change.
Mr. Squidward!
Wow.
What's with all this change nonsense?
Just because this dude was so tight with money and just always wanted some more money, but never wanted to give it to nobody.
I don't know. I just knew I had access to more when you have money. And that's the foundation of what money does for people. I don't think anyone should necessarily love money itself. I like what money can do for you. And so anyways, continuing on with that story though, 21, December 2017, entered the workforce. And I realized just looking around like, man, this is it. Like, this is all there is to life. Like, you graduate and, you grow up thinking, and you see, obviously, your parents working and you see other people working, you see, doctors and engineers and lawyers, and it's like, yeah, that's what success is. That's what I want to be, like, oh, that's like a quote unquote successful career. And so you do that. And I realized that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like not a means to an end, because essentially what happens is you enter this workforce, you're 21, you're 22, whatever age you are, and you're supposed to just stay there for the next 40 years. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? Because I knew at that point I had previously that year in 2017, I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad in January of that year. And I knew, like, from that point, I was like, wow, that's when I learned, like, you can live a great life without working a job. That's when I learned at that point. And when I realized that entering the workforce, I was like, why would I work a job when I could just buy assets that can pay me instead of me having to trade my time in for money? And so that's the foundation of everything that we talk about up to this point. For me specific, I mean, I know definitely for me, and I know Marlon has similar thoughts, but yeah, that's kind of how I felt up to that point. And, just, I think one thing I'm very grateful for is the fact that, we found that out early, because essentially what happens is it didn't become our normal. And I speak on this a lot. Like, your normal is what you become accustomed to. And because we had not technically experienced like that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was like my first like real job. Like, that was like, okay, yeah, you got this paycheck, you're a W-2 worker or whatever. That's like my first like real experience. Like, I'm talking about like real, not like a BS, pay you under the table. But, well, I did work at Red Lobster for like a week.
I'm about to say, for how long? 2 days, right?
Yeah, for that weekend.
Right.
Yeah, I was not messing with that. I was like, nah, y'all mess me with this. The topic.
You had a few jobs. I thought about Best Buy. You had that for
I did work at Best
a week.
Yeah, it was like
a summer maybe.
I was never, and it makes me realize I was just never a good employee. I'm just not a good employee. But that's
not good at being told what to do, especially not for prolonged amounts of time.
So that was like, at that point I realized, nah, January 2018, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be 60 years old sitting in this damn cubicle because I need to still, pay my mortgage and pay my car note or whatever the case, or whatever everyone else in society does. I was like, no. And I say all that to say, like, we didn't get to experience that 10 or 5 or even, whatever, however many years of doing that to realize this is no, like, we realized that instantly, which is what I'm very grateful for.
Right. So
we were able to, and I'll let you kind of continue from that point so you can tell up to there and kind of how that has shaped you.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing it like this, because I want to at least be able to highlight in real time, like how we are both seeing the same journey, because you see it in one perspective and I see it in a different perspective. So first I want to highlight of talking about how we view money. So for you, yes, you were stingy and always just wanted all your money. I was very similar. So I want to also preface by saying this. A lot of the things that we did growing up, or the way we operated, were very similar, but just with different motives. And I think that's one thing I've learned over this past year, just doing a podcast and always talking. I think we have very similar things that we want to accomplish or achieve, but the motives is always usually different. And so for me, I hated the thought of being broke. I think that's number one. So I was very frugal, and I was never materialistic. So I would literally have maybe $500 from one Christmas, and like I would be given $500 on one Christmas, and I'll probably have $400 from that the very next Christmas, and I would get another $500 after that. So I just never spent money. I hated spending money just because I hated the thought of not having money when I needed to spend it. And so I was always good at like saving for a rainy day. It never rained apparently because I never spent anything, but I never was big on spending money because I never really cared about having any type of materialistic thing. And that it really stems to how I am today, because I'm very much like that today. I don't really care too much about having any type of material things, but I'm always motivated to like save for something bigger and better. So if I would gladly save for like a house, my dream house, or my Chevy Corvette that I plan on getting very soon. I would save for those type of things. But as far as just like any random stuff, I could just care less. So that was me with money. So I was always very good, at least with budgeting and saving initially. I guess moving forward, talking about going into college. So I played football also growing up through high school, but I ended up getting a scholarship to go to Stephen F. Austin State University in Texas. And there, I guess I want to point out that I was a 4.0 student, I guess a student athlete, and studying engineering physics. And I would say my motivation behind like why I was able to succeed like that is because I was like I would actually look at this as like a con for me as a person. It's like I was too much of a people pleaser. Like I always want to make sure I'm doing what like people view me in a good light. So if I want to make sure that well, it's not too bad, especially back then, because I always wanted to please my parents. Like if they thought I was doing something right, then I felt a lot better. So I was always trying to make sure I was viewed in a good light. So I would always do stuff in that regard. But I would say that changed 180 degrees once we got into the workforce. So there's a few things I want to say though. It's because as a 4.0 student, people put you on like a pedestal and say, this is like the model student. This is the model person you want to model after. And I definitely disagree with that after my personal experience, and primarily being people think you know everything. And I promise you, because you have a 4.0 in engineering physics don't mean you know jack squat about nothing. And I learned that very quickly getting into the workforce. So when I did an internship the previous summer. So we both me and Alex graduated in December 2017, by the way. And in the summer of 2017, I did an internship at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland. And after that internship, they said that if I ever wanted to come back, I could work full time. So in January of 2018, when Alex went to the workforce in San Antonio, I simultaneously did in Maryland. So I was working at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab in Maryland from January through July. And I'll talk about why I only stopped at July in a second. But when the first paycheck that I received, so I was keep this in mind. I never worked a full-time job in my life because I always had different obligations to like football. So once I started football, that was literally a full-time, full-year job where even throughout summers, you have summer camp. Throughout winters, you only have like 4 or 5 weeks anyway of winter break. So you're going to be right back at football and come to spring. So never had a full-time job before this, but that first paycheck came in and I saw what I made that morning. I was like, oh, dang, I got a lot of money. Yeah, it's cool. That's what's up to be. And I saw what I actually made, and I was really just dumbfounded because what happened? They had took these things out called taxes. Yeah. And I was just like, what just happened? What is this? So I'm over here asking my parents, asking around like, bro, what is, like, why I get taxed so much? What is that? And then that's really when I just had like a big slap in the face moment, like, bro, 4.0 student don't mean nothing. You don't like, just because you were smart in one area don't mean that you are, I guess, literate in every aspect of life. So I said, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know in life, and this is just the first taste of it. And so by the grace of God, I think this is literally the same time that I was talking to Alex about it, and then he said, hey man, you should read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And once I read that book, that's literally just showed me a whole roadmap of stuff I didn't know about before. And so now my entire motivation had changed. But unfortunately, he told me like a day too late. Well, I guess maybe like a month too late, though, like a couple of months. Because when I first got to Johns Hopkins to work full time, I had told everybody up there, like my boss and everything, that I still wanted to go get a master's degree, and AKA a prison sentence for 2 years. So I agreed. I told them beforehand that I was going to go back and like go do a full-time master's degree in the fall of 2018. And I may return afterwards or possibly not, but I want to pursue higher education. And so that's why I only worked for 6 months there. But at the same time, I honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't. Reason being, because the things I've learned now, it just has changed my mindset so much that it wouldn't even be in line with what my goals are. But I guess just to keep the story on track, I learned a whole lot about what I didn't know before. And this is what actually motivated me to start reading. Because I promise you, if you knew like 8th grade Marlon Walls, that dude never read a book in his life. I hated reading like with a passion, but that's because I never read nothing of importance or of substance. So I think between
well, hold on. Before we get into that,
go ahead.
I want to comment on some stuff that
I know I'll be saying a lot.
So I want to comment on what you had kind of said real quick too, because I think as you mentioned, like as a 4.0 student, people think you know everything. And, in reality, it's like, that's a great, great thing. But what it means is that you're very knowledgeable in one area, right? Kind of like how you mentioned, right? Because I think about a lot of like doctors, right? Because if we think about a doctor went to school for over a decade of schooling to reach that, pinnacle of getting the white coat and getting the doctor and being a whatever kind of doctor or physician they are. And I was reading this book called The Millionaire Next Door. And they speak about how a lot of doctors are actually the highest. Doctors are how do I say this? A lot of doctors have the highest. A lot of doctors are the,
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Okay. most doctors are UAWs, and a UAW is essentially a under accumulator of wealth. So what that means essentially is that by a certain age and a certain income, you are expected to kind of have a certain net worth, right? And as a doctor, as a certain age, at a certain income, if you're building wealth correctly, you can either be an under accumulator of wealth, an average accumulator of wealth, or a prodigious accumulator of wealth. PAW, AAW, UAW. And doctors they're UAWs, because what happens is that they're very knowledgeable as a doctor, but they know nothing on the financial side, right? So that's why, you might see a lot of doctors, they make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, and their expenses are $400,000, $300,000 a year too, right? So essentially, what does that mean? That means their net worth isn't as high as it potentially should be with the income that they have. Whereas a prodigious accumulator of wealth means it's someone that has an exponentially higher net worth than what is expected by someone that has that income. So someone that makes $50,000 a year can have a significantly higher net worth than a doctor who earns less than, or who earns 5 times that, but spends 5 times that, right? Anyways, I say that to illustrate that point you just made. But
we say this all the time, but just the same reason that professional athletes can go broke literally a year a year into retirement, it's the same thing we're talking about what Alex was talking about with the doctors, or same thing with me going into the workforce. Just because you are very savvy in one particular area, so athletes may be very gifted or very talented as far as with their athletic ability, but that doesn't mean that they know how to balance a checkbook. That doesn't mean they know how to invest. That doesn't mean they know how to buy a house. A lot of stuff that we are not actually taught in schools, which is one of my biggest motivators, is like trying to educate people on this type of stuff, because the things that are not taught in school are sadly the things that we like as people in general probably are going to endure more times than the Pythagorean theorem, or why when Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And so that's one of my You said what? 1492. Exactly. So you know these facts real quick. Like you can rip those off like it's clockwork. But when it comes to telling me what the tax rate, no, what the current interest rate is for a house currently, a lot of people can't tell me something like that. So that's one of my biggest motivators now. But that's fast forwarding a little bit, but that's what I was encouraged to go learn back after I learned about taxes. After reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think me and Alex both anonymously said that real estate would be the first avenue of passive income that we wanted to pursue, because we saw that there was a different way of obtaining wealth for our lives. And then encompassing with that would be what our whys were. Like, why do we want to achieve financial freedom? Why do we want to pursue generational wealth? And for me, that's just because one of my biggest motivators is time freedom and having family freedoms, or having time to spend with my family. So that's in essence something that's always kept me motivated to look for multiple streams of income, like passive streams of income where I don't have to work for it. Because all throughout high school, junior high, and college, my parents were always able to attend my football games, no matter what day it was. They would take off of work though, so they would have to work overtime afterwards in order to make up for it, or they would have to schedule out far in advance just to make it possible. So they had to sacrifice in order to do that. I'm trying to make it for my life where if I want to do something, I can do it no matter who. And nobody's gonna be holding something over my head saying, "Hey, you have no more PTO for this year," or something like that. I don't want to have that restriction for me. So that's one of my biggest motivators to achieve financial wealth for myself.
And two, I just want to comment on that too. I think, I will mention this because I didn't say it, but yeah, after entering that workforce, as 21-year-olds, and realizing that there's other ways to actually, live life, and you don't have to be a slave. That's when I set the goal to become financially free. And I said, okay, by age 28, I was 21 at the time. By age 28, it's 7 years. Now it's 4 years. That is where I should be. I should not need a job. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that age, significantly sooner. So that just goes to show, though, it's literally because at the end of the day, anybody, the reason, one of my biggest motivators for doing this too is just to show that anybody can build wealth. Like, you don't have to come from wealth. You don't have to come from a certain family. You don't have to know certain people. All that gives you a head start, but it's not an excuse not to do it. And so I set that goal. And with that goal, obviously comes a lot of work, right? And a lot of education, which is the biggest thing. So like Marlon mentioned, reading, all of that stuff is very, very, very key. And, doing that every day. And so from there, I guess kind of just moving forward so we can move along. Bought the first house, first rental property, 2018, that summer. And
what kind of house was that?
It was a single family house with a converted garage. House hacking it, and house rents for almost $1,400 market rent. It's not renting at that right now, but almost $1,400 market rent, and the apartment will easily rent for $800. And that's gonna cash flow almost $1,000 a month off of that one house when it's fully rented. It's not fully rented right now, but when it is, and that was the first property. Bought the next one that we got another flip that year, and then we closed on a flip last year, that January or that February, and then we sold it in the summer, and lost all that money later that year.
The second flip, lost all that.
Yeah, lost all that money. So it happens. It's business. You make $30,000, you lose $30,000 a few months later. That was a learning lesson, though. You had to take that L. I mean, we didn't have to take that L, but you learned a lot from that L. And I know now better. I promise it's not going to happen again because of that reason. It might happen again, but it won't be for that reason. Anyways, but yeah, that's how that happened. And so at that point, I set the goal, and I'll just kind of talk about it. The goal was it's the house hack every year, flip every year, flip multiple properties a year, and use the flips to fund apartment complexes. So that up to, I would say last year, up to starting this podcast, that was my strategy for building wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you know, we read about real estate, and real estate is the best, I think, investment out there that you can make personally. Everyone has a different opinion, which is fine, but it's my favorite. And so that was kind of the goal. And then, you know, I don't know if Marlon wanted to comment on that. Did you want to?
Yeah, I'll just give my brief story on the house hacking portion. So once once I finished reading, one thing that we came across during all that reading and education was house hacking as a thing. House hacking is generally speaking just like trying to find a multi-unit apartment, so like a 2 to 4 unit, living in one unit and then rent out the other ones. And so for both of us, we went unconventional routes because. And just to be honest, those are not very abundant in areas such as San Antonio or Houston. And where they are abundant, it's not ideal areas that we want to live in. So we chose to pursue different alternatives. You said what?
I don't want to live in a trap.
Okay, exactly. So I'll try to word it a little bit better, but that's pretty much that's pretty much what it was. So we said, okay, where else can we find places at? Or what other alternatives are there for house hacking? So Alex chose the converted garage. He lives in the garage and rents out the main house. Most people think that you would live in the main house and rent out the garage, but we talk about this thing called comfortability versus profitability. We can sacrifice comfort, we'll be more profitable. And so for me, I took that same mentality and applied it to an extreme case. I actually couldn't find any multi-unit places at all. I have no converted garages or anything like that. What I said was, okay, I don't have any type of multi-units, but so how can you still house hack? So instead, I just chose to buy a single family house with multiple bedrooms. And in this house, they had a master bedroom connected to a half bath. They had an entire downstairs suite that just had his own bathroom and his own private bedroom. Then upstairs, they had two smaller bedrooms as well. And I guess most people would probably think I chose the downstairs one. Nope, I chose one of the smaller bedrooms that were upstairs around the entire downstairs suite and the master bedroom, and then the last smaller bedroom. And in total, my mortgage was $845 per month, and at its best, it was renting out at $1,440 per month. And so that means I cover all of my utilities using their rent, cover all the entire mortgage, and have money left over to save for any type of variable expenses.
And I think just to comment on that, because I'm trying to break this down into kind of like phases and, you know, different aspects of life and kind of how mindset shift. I hope y'all are kind of seeing it unfold as it goes along. But I want to comment on that too, because the thing about that is that it's all about delayed gratification, right? Because think about the situation that we were in. We're 21 years old. We come out of school making very good money as engineers.
Yep.
Like very good money. And as a 21-year-old, how many people are going to take that and go blow it? And, you know, blow is subjective. Pause. But it's sorry, that was childish. But at the end of the day, we delayed gratification, because the thing about it is that we could have took that money and said, okay, cool, I'm finna go get this Beamer. I'm finna go get this new 5 Series BMW. It's about $40,000, but it's cool. I could, you know, I got it. I could definitely finance that. You know, I could make them payments. I could go get the crib for, you know, $1,500 a month. I could do that. Shoot. I mean, I could make the payments. And in theory, yeah.
You can.
We could have. Yeah, we could have done it and made the payments. It would have been no problem. But the thing about it is that would have been
goals.
Yeah. And that was, at the end of the day, that wasn't the goal. Like, I would say this, most people, I'm not going to get into that actually, but the thing about it is what do you do whenever you come out of school, and even that whole aspect of like graduating, you get an income now. Those choices that you make financially will be either the death of your dreams or that's when they're born. Because when you go buy that $40,000 car for 7 years financing and whatever, the $1,500 apartment, you literally just sacrificed a lot, because there's opportunity cost with everything. You sacrifice many, many years of financial freedom by doing that. And I can guarantee you, look, I'm still driving the same car that I got. The first car I got in high school was in 2013 or 2009 Mazda 3 with 45,000 miles on it. Shout out to my dad.
Can you tell everybody how you roll down your windows?
Bro, manual roll down windows, bro. And this was like, I mean, it's a 2009 car. Obviously, they still they was making power windows by then. But look, the point I'm making is that, number one, I'm still driving that car. That car now has 123,000 miles on it. I drove that car through high school. I drove that car through college, and I promise that car is going to take me to financial freedom. You can book it. That car is going to take me to financial freedom. And it all goes to show, like, what is more important? Is it like keeping up with Joneses, trying to impress people that at the end of the day, it would just be for the stoplight? Like, you see me in the Beamer, right? Right. You see me in the Beamer, right? I know you see me. Like, bro, they don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, yes. And look, by the way, I'm all for the nice whips. I'm all for the nice stuff.
Yeah, I'm not the same thing.
I'm not one of those people that's gonna say, no, you never need to have.
You're not Kawhi Leonard.
No. I'm not rocking with that. I'm very, and Marlon knows this too. I like nice stuff. Like, if y'all see my garage apartment, I got granite counters, stainless steel appliances, brand new cabinets, hardwood floors. It's decked out, and I spent the money for it. Now, that was a whole nother thing, but it was an asset at the end of the day. I was spending the money on an asset, because now this place will rent out for a lot more than what it would have before. That's a whole nother story. But I say all this to say, like, I'm not opposed to the nice stuff. My whole thing is that if you buying nice stuff, that stuff cannot own you. You need to own that stuff. And the way that stuff owns you is if you're financing it and then going to a job to pay that car note or that payment. If you're doing that, you cooked yourself. Please, if you recently did that, please go back and beg them to
take it back. Take the car back, please.
Like, ask them to take it back, because that's you killing your dreams if that's the case. So I did want to comment on that mentality, because that's definitely something to know. Because we're telling this story, and a lot of people can probably say, oh yeah, I could do that. But you got to understand the mindset and the things that go along with it. Are you okay with not looking rich at the end of the day? That's what it is. If you looked at me, you see where I live, you see the car I drive, you would think I'm not gonna say a bum, but you wouldn't know nothing about me financially. You wouldn't.
If you see or hear me coming up in my car, I promise you won't know me. You won't know how much money I got either. Yeah. My car, for one, drives itself. Like the engine's so bad that as soon as if you have it in park, it's revving up so loud that I have to turn it off when I'm in a drive-through parking lot. When I'm in a drive-through at McDonald's, they'd be like, "Sorry, I can't hear you." Sorry, hold on a second. Turn off my engine. Yes, can I have a too hot and spicy? I will say though, if I am to get another car though, I'm not going to get no new $30,000 BMW, because I'm trying to spend as little money as possible and pay for it in cash. And that's just a different mentality, because I'm still in that delayed gratification mindset. Because like I mentioned earlier, I'm also looking to get a Corvette, but I'm not looking to save for it and pay for it out of my own pocket. I want my assets that I'm accumulating over the next few years to financial freedom to pay for that Corvette. And that's the difference in mindset that we're trying to instill in people through our podcast and through our platform.
It's all about delayed gratification, bro. And you gotta do it strategically. Because for me, I know I'm very incentive driven in a way, right? I know, if I can get that, I'm gonna bust my tail to get it. And I just know that about myself. So I do that strategically to help myself accomplish goals, right? Because I know I have my dream house on my wall. Literally. I look at it every day and I watch the video of it literally every day, every morning since January. I watched a 2-minute video of a walkthrough of that house. And I know, like, that's what I'm working for. It's one of the things I'm working for. And I know every day, all the hours I'm putting in, all the work I'm doing, it's because it's working towards that. I don't need it now. I don't need to have it now. It would be stupid to try to go get it now. But in the future, I know it's going to be good to have. So like I said, I'm not opposed to the nice stuff. It's just, how are you getting the nice stuff? So anyways, that's kind of like, but yeah, that's kind of how, that was our mentality up to, I mean, for a lot of that, still like, yeah, in terms of like the building wealth, that was the strategy for me specifically up to, I would say, around last summer when I kind of shifted and pivoted my strategy in terms of like what I'm focused on now. Because the thing about it is that once you get access to new information, you're able to make new decisions. Or you're able to make better informed decisions, right? Because information is literally the key to everything. It's not money. It's not whatever. It's literally, what do you know? And so anyways, we started Money Monopolizers in January 2019 or May of 2019. And over a year later, we've grown it to almost 10,000 followers on Instagram. Shout out to y'all. If you don't follow us on Instagram, go follow us. And through that, I mean, I've been exposed to so many things. Like before, my strategy was just real estate, right? Like that's the holy grail, real estate. If I ain't buying real estate, I don't want it. And anything else just seemed kind of like, nah, it's just a distraction. But like you become exposed, like y'all have seen the guests we've had on the show, bro. You've become exposed to so many other things and you realize, whoa, okay, that there's so many ways to build wealth, right? And certain things, will get you there faster. Certain things you might enjoy more. Certain things, are not for you. You learn a lot when you're exposed to, this whole financial freedom. And that's what Money Monopolizers kind of did for us. It exposed to us this financial freedom community, this, entrepreneurship community. And it's been very enlightening, right? So now kind of the strategy for me specifically has shifted in terms of like, I would say last year I read Cash Flow Quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki. It's like Rich Dad Poor 2. And that book was definitely, I would say, a top 2 book for me. Maybe top 3, but definitely a top book for me because I don't know if y'all we did episode 27. If you haven't listened to that, that was one of my favorite episodes that we did. And we talked about the Cash Flow Quadrant. Essentially, it's the 4 different methods for generating income, right? And you can be an employee, self-employed, business owner, or an investor. And those are the 4 different ways to generate income. But at the end of the day, each one is necessarily it's not a method, it's a mindset to each one, right? And each one kind of responds to things differently. And so that's when I kind of realized, seeing that, I saw the power of business at that point. Because the real estate thing, that's more so I quadrant stuff, right? At the end of the day, the goal is to get a good ROI. ROI is that's the biggest thing to be looking at when you talk about investing. And so, what I realize is that I need multiple streams of income. At that point last year, that's when I kind of realized that real estate wouldn't be. I mean, real estate is sufficient. Like if that's all you do, you better than 99% of everybody. But I knew for me, I could do more. Because real estate is kind of like, it's wealth, but it's slow wealth. Real estate is not get what you quick.
I want to comment on that because I think one of the biggest things that you learn from Cash Flow Quadrant, because I wanted to talk about that too, because I had that, that's something I wanted to just mention. Cash Flow Quadrant really emphasizes the importance of like using business to fuel your investments. And so that's kind of what the Cash Flow Quadrant highlights for you. And I think that's what you've seen yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I realized like that whole one stream of income, and even real estate, that would have been my second stream, whatever, rental income. That's not enough. Even 2 streams of income ain't enough. 1 is too close to none, and 2 is too close to 1. So that means it's not enough at the end of the day. And so what I realized is that I can hit I set the goal for age 28 financial freedom. I realized I could hit it a lot sooner if I just get in business and figure out what business I'm interested in and do that. And that's when I learned about McDonald's Formula as well. Because the McDonald's Formula too was kind of like, it was a light bulb moment for me, because I realized like McDonald's is not in the burger business. McDonald's is in the real estate business. Look at how many stores does McDonald's have. McDonald's business plan, McDonald's Formula is essentially, they purchase real estate. They own some of the best real estate in the world on some of the best corners in the world. And they own plots of land there, and they rent it out to franchisees. Franchisees pay them rent, and they pay them a percentage of the burger revenue or whatever, business revenue. So that's the McDonald's Formula, right? And that's when I realized it was kind of like a light bulb moment. Like, wow, real estate is good and real estate is the best thing, but I need streams of income coming from everywhere. I need a stream of income for every bill. And if I want to live a life a certain way, that means my bills are going to be a certain way. So I need streams of income that are a certain way, right? And so that's when I adjusted my strategy last summer. That's when I kind of saw that shift. I would say more so in the fall, 2019. That's when I saw that shift. And so that's when I said, okay, my 9 to 5 just became leverage. It was always leverage, but now that's all it is. Like, I don't even care about getting a raise. I don't care about moving up the corporate ladder. I don't care about none of that. I just need this to fund my businesses. That's it. And on top of that, it needs to fund the education for those businesses as well, right? So the business that I start and all the business that I have, they can fund my real estate, right? Real estate is still the bread and butter. Don't get me wrong. Real estate is always going to be the bread and butter, but real estate is more so where I park my money. It's not necessarily where I, primarily put my money. I want my business to be building my real estate. And so I just want to like kind of talk about why I really think about business is really like the best, for me, was the best way to go. Because one thing, my investment strategy, the reason I even love real estate is because of the control aspect. And with a business, you even have a higher level of control now to an extent. But generally speaking, I know for me, and I know myself, right? All my life, this has been my case. If I can control it, I know I'm going to succeed. It's like no question at all. Like no matter what I do in my life, if I can control it, I'm going to succeed at it. Whatever it is, if it's school, if it's, fitness, if it's whatever it is, I'm going to succeed at it. That's just my mentality with it because I have full control. And so with business, I feel like I have even more control than actually, I know I have more control than with real estate solely, right? Because real estate at the end of the day has limited extra strategies, and there's kind of ways you can adjust it, midway, but there's not, it's limited. It's very limited because at the end of the day, there's a set cost on what people are actually willing to pay for their housing. And that's more so, just based on housing prices and the cost of mortgages and all those things, right? So, I mean, that's kind of how I think about that. And then the cash flow potential with business is a lot higher because think about it. With business, think about how many businesses, sell products and services. Who are they selling to? They're selling to an infinite amount of customers. And with real estate, your rental pool, or if you're selling rental properties, is limited to the people in that area. But with business, I can sell to customers all over the world. So I have essentially an infinite amount of customers if that's what my business is doing. That's the reason I look at it the way I do now, because for me, I'm gonna hit financial freedom, but now I'm gonna hit it a lot faster because of this new strategy that I've implemented.
Yep, I just want to comment real quick before we can continue going, because I think I want just our listeners to know that, this is one of Alex's passion topics. So he can go on and on and on and on about this. We actually talk about this all the time, just like off the air. So I've been very involved with different business ventures that he's been taking on lately. Unfortunately, I haven't been taking them the same way because I've been serving my prison sentence for the past 2 years. But like I said, I'm about to be on the same type of wavelength, because what we learned is that there's just like a million ways to obtain generational wealth. I think that's one of the best things that we've got from this podcast, is that we were able to take bits and pieces from everybody that we've, one, interviewed, and two, that we follow on Instagram or just on our pages, just to see different ways of achieving the same goal. Like we said earlier, the goal stays the same. The avenue that we take to get there may always change though. And that's okay, because once you know better, you do better in lots of cases. And that doesn't mean you have to pursue every type of business venture. That just means that you look for what works for you, what you think that you will enjoy doing, and then you can pursue that. And I think that's one thing that I've seen that Alex find, and that's one thing I've found for myself too, is that with all the business ventures that are out there, you can pick and choose which one that you want to do. That's just a kind of thing, just it's all encompassing where the mindset shift came from, and then how we're shifting our mindsets since episode 1 of this podcast though.
And that's why I really enjoy, business. My goal is really to hit, by the end of this year, 7 streams of income, Right now I have 5, but I'm feeling, 7 at the end of the year is what I is will be a good number, and then continue growing that into forever. But like I said, I need a stream of income for every bill. So that's kind of how I look at it. But the thing too about this whole strategy is that, because I know, if you hear this, you might think that it's a good strategy, but at the end of the day, the knowledge is the key with this strategy, right? Because, with real estate, you can very well, find the knowledge. The knowledge is everywhere. But with business, it's very specific, and it's very, it's depending on what you're doing, it could be a lot harder to find knowledge on it. So you have to be willing to actually spend the time and the money to learn how to implement those strategies. And for me, because I know, I spent well over $5,000 just in the last month on, education and courses in the last 9 months, not the last month, in education and courses, because I know that's what I need. Like, I mean, I look at, the courses, like I get to pay other people for their mistakes. A lot of people look down on the courses, but I don't know. I think it's just them being cheap, because at the end of the day, what's the difference from college, right? If you look at college, you pay for the courses, and then, I mean, you don't even use the stuff. At least with this stuff, you can pay for it, and you might use it. At least, even if you don't use it, at least you have knowledge that can earn you income, instead of knowing about, useless stuff that can't even earn you income, but what you paid for. So that's how I look at paying for education and paying for knowledge. It's you have to put, it's like an investment into yourself. Because I spent $2,000 on one course, and that course, the business now, that can easily generate me $20,000 a month. And that's, bro, I've already got that 2K back easily. So it's nothing for me. Like, that's my mentality with it. But even on top of that, I think the hardest thing that people need to realize and look at is that the time aspect of it. It takes a lot of time to really, get into, it takes a lot of time to build a business. And if you're not willing to put that time in, I definitely wouldn't recommend it, because I know I spend many hours a week after work, putting in that time. The 9 to 5 is just, for me, I mean, it pays the bills, and then it funds my other stuff. But, those hours after 7, 2 a.m., that's when you really got to be working. And that's what business is. So that's kind of how I look at that. A lot of people will hear that, and, if that's not for you, then that's fine. Because I know a lot of people say that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, and maybe it really isn't. But I also look at it like, okay, well, is being, an employee for 40 years, is that for everybody? If that is, then, congrats. If that's what you want to do, congrats. I just think that's like really like it's a terrible outlook, because anybody can build wealth in this day and age. So it's really like an excuse to just kind of cop out of, not having to do the work. So that's how I look at that. But, it's very rewarding if you do put in that time and that effort, and also the money, because, like I said, the returns it could be a lot better. The potential is a lot better. And so that's kind of, all that to say, that's my strategy now for how I'm building wealth.
Right. And yeah, I kind of think for a lot of people who say that it's not for everybody, I think one thing is that they've been conformed to a certain way of thinking. So if you ask somebody, is working 40 years for somebody else considered like being synonymous with being a slave, or is that for everybody? I think most people will probably say that, yes, it is for everybody. It's not slave work. This is normal. It's normal because that's what you've been trained to think, and how you've been trained to operate. So you conform to a system rather than the system being open and you can choose what you wanted to do. And so for business, it's kind of going against the grain and saying, you know what, I'm going to forego going into that to a safe and secure job to pursue something that may take more work up front, but it will pay off in dividends and even be able to be passed down for future generations to come. And I think that's usually what people have to, I mean, that's why we always preach mindset, because if you can't shift your mindset from thinking like an employee to thinking like a business owner and thinking like somebody who wants to take their personal control of their lives and their financial destiny, then you're not going to be apt to want to go pursue a business and try like to develop it, because you're going to fear how much time it may take. You're going to just have preconceived fears in general about time, about money, about will it work, about all these different things. And that's really because of your lack of knowledge. So like you mentioned before, if you can find a way to obtain the knowledge, which is why Alex invests in courses. If you find a way to obtain the knowledge, I feel like one, you'll be more comfortable to take that next step, and then two, you will see that it's not as bad as you may have thought it once was.
I think that's a good mindset to have. But yeah.
So I know every episode that we do with a guest, we always do a fast five with them at the end, just to get their perspective on like their different questions, on different questions that we ask them. I think it would be a good opportunity to like just for us to give our own personal fast five answers so that people can see how we think in these certain situations. I guess we can just ask them to each other. I mean, we'll just let them rip one after another.
So what does success mean to you?
For me, success is pretty much, for one, financial freedom and just being able to choose to do what you want to do with your time. And so for me, like I always tell my family, if I want to take a 30-day vacation, I want and just take one-way trips to Africa, to Cabo, to Japan, to Paris, and then come back home once I'm tired and ready to come back home. I want to be able to do that. And that's what success looks like for me.
I really think, it's about what at the end of the day makes you happy, right? Doing what makes you happy, I think, is the definition. It's very cliche to say, but it's really real, because for me, I know what makes me happy is being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and not being controlled by anyone, as far as like someone holding a paycheck over my head or anything like that. And so for me, financial freedom is success to me. Financial freedom at an early age is particularly success for me. Right? If I hit it, in my 20s, that is me being successful. It's not to say I'm not successful if I don't, but that's what it is for me. Because I like to put that pressure on myself. I like to put that, that onus on myself to work and get it. Because I know if I don't get it, I wasn't working hard enough. And so that's kind of my mindset with it.
Like I said, very similar answers, different motives, but that's really, I think, what's made us gel well together in that sense. It's just that we had the same all-encompassing goals.
Yeah.
But okay, question number 2. What is your favorite money or business book?
Favorite money or business book? Man, I gotta go with Cash Flow Quadrant. I think it's, I'm trying to think too. I think I would have to go with that one. That book, because like I said earlier, it kind of was it's gonna allow me to hit financial freedom earlier. Reading that book and getting exposed to that kind of mindset is life changing at the end of the day, because now you kind of see, like I said, please go read that book. But each one of those quadrants tells you it's a different mindset with each. It's a different approach to life. How does someone react to fear? How does someone react to security? How does someone react to losing something? How do you react to needing money? That's what that means at the end of the day. And for me, I react in the B quadrant and the I quadrant. And that's how I think everyone should react. If you don't, that's fine too, but that's how I think about it. What about you?
Yep, I think for both of us, it was going to be unanimous. It was going to be one of the Rich Dad, one of the Robert Kiyosaki books in general. But for me, it's actually Retire Young, Retire Rich, which is actually the most recent one that I've read of his series. I think it's number 5 in his series. But I like that one a lot because it really talks about the importance of leverage, no matter where it's in, whether it's in real estate, whether it's leverage in business to fund real estate, whether it's leveraging your 9-to-5 to fund your business to fund real estate, or leveraging how to leverage the stock market to make money, whether it's going up, down, or sideways. And all of that stuff just really opened up my mind. And he also talks about expanding your context, always being willing to listen and learn new things, and allowing that to be, applying all those new things that you learn to your life. And that's usually what most people are missing in order to start scaling their mentality to, say, leaving from an employee mentality to going to an investment or business mentality.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Would you rather have $1,000 a week for life or $1 million today?
After hearing how Aisha Selden gave her answer, y'all should definitely go listen to her answer real quick. But $1 million today, because I know I can turn into a better investment for myself moving forward. I get a better return on investment.
Yeah, I'm taking it
and
back.
Then if I say, what about you?
taking the bag. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
I mean, 1,000 a week. I can make, if I give me $1 million, I promise I'll turn that to 1,000 a minute.
Yep, exactly. You just think move differently.
But the thing is, I want to comment on that too real quick, because I think the way people got to think about that, what you would do if you say you had $1 million is what you should be doing right now anyway. If you say, oh, if I had $1 million, I'm going to invest it in the stock market. What are you doing with the money right now? It's kind of like, I look at it like, the same way a lot of people, they say, okay, January 1st, I'm gonna do this. Why don't you just do it now? Right? Like, what's the problem? Like, it's just, these hypotheticals are real life situations. Because at the end of the day, if you can't invest your $100 that you got, I promise you're gonna blow $1 million. And you might think you investing in it right, but you're not, because you don't even know. I mean, at the end of the day, the knowledge is the most important thing, not the money.
I just thought of a quote, just because money makes you more of who you really are. And that's mentality. That's personality. And that's also your financial savviness. So if you are bad with handling $200, you're going to be terrible with handling $1 million. And that's because the money it's going to be exponential in how much, and like the impact that you can make with it. So like, I'm just thinking, if you invest in a stock, and you invested $100, it may go down. If a 50% drop is going from 100 to 50. A 50% drop for investing $1 million is going from 1 million to 500,000. So your mistakes will be amplified if you don't know what you're doing.
100%, man. Shout out to the options and the Robinhood rookies.
Exactly. All right. So question number 4: if you can go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
If I could change anything about my journey, I mean, obviously 2020 hindsight, but I would have, instead of okay, this is a little story to it, but my parents paid for my college pretty much straight out of pocket, and with that they paid for all my housing and my rent. Like, we paid the yearly rent up front, like every semester. We paid a year, or every school year we paid a yearly rent, like $6,000 every year up front for the year. I would have, if I'd have known what I know now, I would have owned 2 more properties right now, because I would have house hacked that first one when I was 18 years old, and I'd have rented out. I was living in an apartment, living with 4 other people. I might as well have owned the house and rented out the rooms to them. And I mean, if that was in 2014, the equity I would have in that would be stupid right now. And I would have did the same thing in 2015 or 2016. And then when I graduated school, I would have kept doing it. So I would definitely have done that sooner. I think that's probably, obviously it's 2020 hindsight at the end of the day. What are you really, upset about, if anything? So that's kind of what I would do. What about you?
Honestly, I'll tell you that we just had the same mentality on a lot of stuff, because for me, I probably did the same thing. At SFA, I remember how we were so in shock when one of our teammates, I was just, shout out to Zach, when he had purchased a house as opposed to just going to get a place to rent. And I probably would have did the exact same thing. Try to find something in the city, maybe 15 minutes away, like I did at Purdue, and then just rent it out. It doesn't have to be the teammates, to anybody. Just anybody who's qualified, and then be able to live rent free that way. And because that'll save my parents a lot of, well, not really. My parents ain't pay for nothing, but I think that would have been a very smart financial move, because I would still have that rental today, and then I've just been setting myself up for even better outcome later on. So I was thinking the exact same thing. Either that or not voluntarily go to my prison sentence. One of those two would have been it.
Yeah. But I look at that too, and it's like, I know, like I said, in a way, somebody is always going to pay for your mistakes, or someone will live off of your well-doings or your knowledge, right? And I know my kids will live very well off of me having that knowledge of, hey, if you want to go to college, you're not getting no apartment. You're going to get this, we're going to get you this house, and you're going to rent out these rooms. Huh? You're
going to own the apartment.
My facts.
For sure.
Shoot. So that's the mindset with it. I mean, get them I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, that's the mindset with it. But yes, that is it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at the Monopolizers, or on IG at Money Monopolizers. Post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged. So check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.